Mr. Gritton, I want to follow up on some of the questions that you've had about industrial base. It seems to me that's one of the lessons we have from Ukraine, is maintaining the industrial base and being sure that there are consistent demand signals that will allow the private sector to make the investments necessary to have the industrial base ready and able when we need them. What do you take from Ukraine?
So, Senator, first of all, watching what's happening in Ukraine is a tragedy, and the rigor and the patriotic fight that the Ukrainian people are putting up against this is amazing. What's also amazing is how fast they're burning through munitions. And if we get an opportunity, if we are forced into an opportunity where we have to deny an adversary something we want to be a part of, we're going to have deep bunkers. And in order to do that, we're going to have to really ramp up the quantity of weapons that we have available to us. So if confirmed, I look forward to working with industry to send that strong demand signal and that extends over time so they know how to invest and how to position themselves so they could build more affordably and at scale.
Well, the term you used is extend over time. Multi-year procurements, it seems to me, is one way to send that demand signal. Do you agree?
Absolutely. My current colleague, Dr. LaPlante, Undersecretary for Acquisition and Sustainment, he's been doing some excellent work in this area to take advantage of some of the authorities that Congress has provided in order to get those longer-term deals established.
One of the issues that I'm concerned about particularly is the transition from the DDG class destroyer to whatever the new surface combatant is, to be sure that there's not a trough, if you will, of demand, which would cause us to lose skilled personnel, and it's very difficult in this economy to get them back. So I commend to you close management of that process so that there's not a gap between the constructions of the DDGs and then moving on to the new surface combatant.
Yes, Senator, absolutely. We want to make sure that we continue that production smoothly from one to the other. My understanding is that right now, the two contractors that are most likely to be in that business are working together with the government, with the Navy, to buy down risk, to improve the understanding of what that design is going to be so that they could step right into building them effectively when that time comes.
And I hope you'll support that process.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Final question on procurement. In this day and age, it seems to me when we buy platforms, we should also be sure that we're buying the IP. My vision is a 3D printer on every ship. We shouldn't have to go back to the original manufacturer to make a part, a valve or a pipe or whatever. So as part of the procurement process, we should be buying the IP so that we can then do a lot of the maintenance and upgrades in our own capacity rather than having to have these long refurbishment programs.
Senator, that's a particular interest of mine, is a better use of the intellectual property rights the government gets when we have contracts with industry. And my commitment to you is to more aggressively utilize those rights, and where those rights don't get us the information just naturally as a part of the business deal, where we need to purchase additional intellectual property, where it's something that's related to unique investments that industry might do, that we can have a reasonable discussion with industry about how that is in their best interest to make sure that their equipment is managed, maintained effectively over time.
Thank you. Mr. Kahane, one of the issues I've been meeting with a lot of veterans lately, and one of the issues in personnel is the transition out of the military. We have the TAP program, but the consensus I'm getting is that there are gaps, there are problems with it, and the suggestion is that the Pentagon should spend as much time and money and effort on transition out as they do on recruitment in. I hope you'll focus on that issue because the disproportionate number of veteran suicide take place in the first 2 or 3 years after separation, and things like notifying the state veteran services that somebody's coming so they can be literally met at the airport. I hope that's something you'll pay attention to.
Yes, sir. Transition assistance and those programs have been something I've paid attention to for years, been very passionate about. I certainly think they've gotten a little bit better, but we need to do a far better job. I think that trying to bridge that educational process earlier in than waiting till the last few months of someone's time within the service is certainly helpful. When they return home, perhaps they should be required to go to their local armory and pick up their final paperwork. Do a soft handoff when appropriate. I think we need to start thinking a little bit different based on how the world really is today. And if confirmed, I look forward to working with the team and certainly you and your staff as well, Senator, to work on this issue.
Thank you. I think this is very important, and I
agree.
I commend your attention to it, and we'll look forward to following up with you.
Thank you, sir.